ग्रेट गुड मॉर्निंग ऑफिसर्स। मैं सुमित कुमार सिंह आप तमाम यूपीएससी एस्पेरेंट्स या अन्य कोई कंपिटेटिव एग्जामिनेशन की तैयारी कर रहे विद्यार्थियों का इस मगध पुत्र ड्रीम आईएएस यूट्यूब चैनल में अभिनंदन करता हूं। माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, आज यूपीएससी सिविल सर्विसेज 2021 के ऑफिशियल नोटिफिकेशन के माध्यम से आज हम लोग साइकोलॉजी ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट, सभी को मालूम है जितने भी यूपीएससी एस्पेरेंट्स हैं उन्हें एक कह सकते हैं कि मुख्य परीक्षा में मेंस एग्जामिनेशन में ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट का चयन करना होता है। उसी के अंतर्गत आज हम लोग साइकोलॉजी एज ए ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट का पेपर 1 एज वेल एज पेपर 2 बोथ कह सकते हैं पेपर्स का डिटेल्ड सिलेबस करेंगे। यहाँ बस सिलेबस को मैं प्रेजेंट करने जा रहा हूँ, इसे रीड करने जा रहा हूँ। रीड करने के माध्यम या फिर कह सकते हैं इसका उद्देश्य सिर्फ यह है कि इस पूरे के पूरे दिए गए सिलेबस का एक ओवरव्यू एट ए ग्लेंस पहली नज़र में हम जान पाएँ कि आखिर सिलेबस के अंतर्गत क्या क्या है। ठीक है जी, बस यहाँ हम रीड करेंगे, तो आइए हमारे साथ आप भी रीड करें। Paper 1 Foundations of Psychology. Introduction, Definition of Psychology, Historical Antecedents of Psychology and Trends in the 21st Century, Psychology and Scientific Methods. Psychology in relation to other social sciences and natural sciences, applications of psychology to societal problems. Point number 2, Methods of Psychology, Types of Research, Descriptive, Evaluative, Diagnostic and prognostic methods of research, survey, observation, case study and experiments. Characteristics and experimental design and non-experimental designs, quasi-experimental designs, focused group discussion, brainstorming, grounded theory approach. Point number 3, research methods, major steps in psychological research, problems statement, hypothesis formulation, research design, sampling, tools of data collection, analysis and interpretations, and report writing. Fundamental versus applied research, method of data collection, interview, observation, questionnaire and the case study. Research design, ex post facto and experimental, application of statistical techniques, e-test, t-test, two-ways ANOVA, correlation and regressions, and the factor analysis, item response theory. Point number 4, development of human behavior, growth and development, principle of development, role of genetic and environmental factor in determining human behavior, influence of cultural factor in socialization, lifespan development, characteristics, development tasks, promoting psychological well-being across major stages in the lifespan. Point number 5, sensation, attention and perception. Sensation, concept of thresholds, absolute and difference threshold, signal detections and vigilance, factor influencing attention including set and characteristics of stimulus, definition and concept of perception, biological factor in perception, perceptual organization, influence of the past experience, perceptual difference factor influencing space and depth perception, size estimation and perpetual readiness, the plasticity of perception, extrasensory perception, culture and perception, subliminal perceptions. Point number 6, learning, concept and theories of learning, behavior, gestalist and information process models, the process of extensions, discrimination and generalization, programmed learning, probability learning, self-instructional learning, concept types and schedules of reinforcement, escape, avoidance and punishment, modeling and social learning. Point number 7, memory, encoding and remembering, short-term memory, long-term memory, sensory memory, iconic memory, echonic memory, in the multi-stores model, level of processing, organization and mnemonic techniques to improve memory, theories of forgetting, decay, interference and retrieval failures, meta-memory, amnesia, and anterograde and retrograde. Point number 8, thinking and problem solving, Piaget's theory of cognitive development, concept formation process, information process, reasoning and problem solving, facilitating and hindering factors in problem solving, methods of the problem solving, creative thinking and fostering creativity, factors influencing decision making and judgment, recent trends. Point number 9, motivation and emotion, psychological and physiological basis of motivation and emotion, measurement of motivation and emotions, effect of motivation and emotion on behavior, extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, factors influencing intrinsic motivation, emotional competence and related issues. Point number 10, intelligence and aptitude, concept of intelligence and aptitude, nature and theories of intelligence, Spearman Thrust Stone, Gulford, Herman, Stan Wars, and J.P. Das, Emotional Intelligence, Social Intelligence, Measurement of Intelligence and Aptitudes, Concept of IQ Deviation, IQ Consistency and IQ Measurement of Multiple Intelligence, Fluid Intelligence, and Crystallized Intelligence. Point number 11. Personality, definition and concept of personality, theories of personality, psychoanalytical, socio-cultural, interpersonal development, and developmental, humanistic, behavioristic traits and type approaches, measurement of personality, projective test, pencil paper test, the Indian approach to personality, training for personality development, latest approaches like the 5 big theories, the notion of the self in different traditions. Point number 12, attitudes, values and interests, definition of attitude, values and interests, component of attitudes, formation and maintenance of attitudes, measurement of attitude, values and interests, theories of attitude, changes, strategies for fostering values, formation, stereotypes and prejudice, changing other behavior, theories of attribution, recent trends. Point number 13, language and communication, human language, properties, structure and linguistic hierarchy, language acquisitions, predisposition, critical period hypothesis, theories of language development, Skinner's and Chomsky, process and types of communication, effective communication training. Issues and perspective in modern contemporary psychology, computer application in psychological laboratory, psychological testing, artificial intelligence, psycho-cybernetics, study of consensus slips, walk, schedule, dreams, stimulus, deprivation, meditations, and hypnotic drugs induced state, extrasensory perception, intersensory perception, stimulation studies. नाउ पेपर 2, ये पेपर 1 का सिलेबस हम लोगों ने देखा, पेपर 2 देखेंगे. साइकोलॉजी, इशूज एंड एप्लीकेशंस. Psychological measurement of individual differences, the nature of individual differences, characteristic and construction of standardization, psychological test, types of the psychological test, use and misuse and limitation of psychological test, ethical issues in use of psychological test. Point number 2, psychological well-being and mental disorders, concept of ill health, health, positive health, well-being, casual factors in the mental disorders, anxiety disorders and moody disorder, schizophrenia and delusions disorder, personality disorder, substance abuse disorder, factor influencing positive health, well-being, lifestyle and quality of life, happiness dispositions. Point number 3, therapeutic approaches, psychodynamics therapies, behavior therapies, client-centered therapy, cognitive therapies, indigenous therapies, yoga, meditation, biofeedback therapy, preventive and rehabilitation of mentally ill, fostering mental health. Point number 4, work psychology and organizational behavior, personal selection and training, use of psychological tests in the industry, training and human resource development, theories of work motivation, Harvard's Maslow's Adam equity theory, Potter's laws, Worm, leadership and participatory management, advertising market, states and its management, agronomics, consumer psychology, managerial effectiveness, transformational leadership, sensitivity training, power and politics in organization. Point number 5, applications of psychology to educational field, psychological principles underlying effective teaching learning process, learning styles, gifted, retarded, learning disabled and their training for improving memory and better academic achievement, personality development and value education, educational vocational guidance and career counseling, use of psychological tests in educational institutions, effective strategies in guidance programs. Point number 6, community psychology, definition and concept of community psychology, use of small groups and social action, arousing community consensus and action for handling social problem, group decision making and leadership for social change, effective strategies for social change. Point number 7, rehabilitation psychology, primary, secondary, tertiary, preventive programs, role of psychologists, organizing services for rehabilitation of physically, mentally and social challenged persons, including old persons, rehabilitation of persons suffering from substance abuse, juvenile delinquency, criminal behavior, rehabilitation of victims of violence, rehabilitations of HIV/AIDS victims and role of social agencies, application of psychological of disadvantaged groups. The concept of disadvantaged, deprivation, social, physical, cultural and economic consequences of disadvantaged and deprived group, educating and motivating the disadvantaged towards development, relative and prolonged deprivation. Point number 9, psychological problem and social integration. The concept of social integration, the problem of caste, class, religion, language conflicts and prejudice. Nature and manifestation of prejudice between the in-group and out-group causal factor of such conflicts and prejudice. Psychological strategies for handling the conflict and prejudice, measures to achieve social integrations. Point number 10, applications of psychology in information technology and mass media. The present scenario of information technology and mass media, boom and the role of psychologists, selection and training of psychology professionals to work in the field of IT and mass media, distance learning through IT and mass media, entrepreneurship through e-commerce, multi-level marketing, impact of TV fostering value through IT and mass media, psychological consequences of recent development in information technology. Point number 11, psychology and economic development, achievement, motivation, economic development, characteristic of entrepreneurial behavior, motivating and training people for entrepreneurship and economic development, consumer rights and consumer awareness, government policies for promotion of entrepreneurship among the youth including women entrepreneurs. Application of psychology to environment and related fields, environmental psychology, effect of noise, pollution and crowding, population psychology, psychological consequence of population explosion and high population density, motivating for small family norms, impact of rapid scientific and technological growth on degradation of environment. Point number 13, application of psychology in other field, military psychology, devising psychological test for defense personnel for use in selection, training, counseling, training psychologists to work with defense personnel in promoting positive health, human engineering in defense. B, sports psychology, psychological intervention in improving performance of athletes and sports persons participating in individual teams games. Media influences and pro and anti-social behavior, psychological of terrorism, psychology of terrorism. Point number 14, psychology of gender, issues of discrimination, management of diversity, glass ceiling effect, self-fulfilling prophecy, women and Indian society. तो ये हम लोगों ने पूरे के पूरे साइकोलॉजी पेपर 2 एज वेल एज साइकोलॉजी पेपर 1 का डिटेल्ड सिलेबस यहाँ पर देखा। आशा करता हूँ कि ये वीडियो आपको अच्छा लगा हो तो हमारे चैनल को लाइक शेयर और सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूले। ऑल्सो प्रेस द बेल आइकन। कोई क्वेरीज हैं, कोई कमेंट हैं, कोई सजेशन, कोई एडवाइस कमेंट बॉक्स में पूछ सकते हैं। सो दैट्स ऑल, थैंक यू वंस अगेन, हैव अ ग्रेट डे।